Let me see. Okay. Hello, everybody. I see that we have some people already joining us. Welcome and thank you for joining us today for this panel on using boom cards for special education. This has been super requested, so here we are to answer your questions. My name is Jenny Rosado. I'm a former special education teacher that now is working with Boom Learning. And we are very excited to be partnering with some wonderful teachers for today's panel. We have Ashley, we have Heather, Chandra, and thank you all for being here. You know how excited we are to have you all. So really quick right now, we'll be sharing a poll with a couple of questions. This is just to get to know you guys. So let me share that. So we have some questions like, what is your teaching specialty? What type of school do you teach? Let me see, where are you from? And number 4, we want to know how you use boom cards. So I am a boom teacher, teacher creator, teacher and publisher, newbie, or your boom parent. So let us know. So while you answer those questions, we want to let you know that we are recording this panel and the entire symposium. So you'll be able to find the recording on our YouTube channel. And also we are live streaming to Facebook. So you can see the recording in Facebook also, and you can send that link to your colleagues so they can join us. Also, we have a chat box, which I see we have already comments on the chat. So if you have anything to say, you can put that on the chat. And we also have a Q&A box where you can put all of your questions, and we'll be answering those throughout the event with Boom agents. But we'll be also answering some questions at the end for a live Q&A. So, one more thing, we're offering certificates of attendance. So for all the events for the symposium. So if you wanna learn more how you can get yours, see the chat for more information. So now let's go and see the poll. So we have from general education teachers, we have mostly from special education. We have 6 from speech therapy, and we have 1 from psychology therapy. That's amazing. Welcome. And yeah, the ones who put other, you can put in the chat, what's your teaching specialty for us to know. We have teachers from elementary, mostly. We have from middle school, high school, special school, therapy center. And we have mostly people from the US, but we have also people from Canada, Asia, and Europe. So that is amazing. You can also let us know in the chat, where are you from? Like, I'm from here. And so mostly I see we have more teachers, boom teachers. We have also boom teachers and creators. Teacher and publisher, we have 2. So welcome, publishers. Oh, we have 4 that are only publishers. So yeah. We have newbies, and we have 1 parent. So welcome. We're so excited to be having you all here. I just ended the poll so we can continue. So now I want all of our panelists to present themselves. So Heather, why don't you go first?
Hi, everyone. I'm Heather from Full Sped Ahead. I am a self-contained teacher turned now instructional coach at an autism school. So now I get to support 21 teachers in the classroom and bring Boom Learning to life. And I'm very excited to share about how I've been using it in my special education classroom and how you can as well.
Great. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so everyone can see your faces. So yeah, Chandra, why don't you go next?
All right, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Chandra. I am a special education teacher. I've been in special education for 18 years, mostly in self-contained classrooms, but I've just transitioned over as a support facilitator and supporting kids in the general education classroom now. And I have noticed that kids love boom cards both in self-contained classrooms and general education classrooms. And like Heather, I'm very excited to share what I found with you guys, and hopefully you'll spread the joy of boom cards in your classrooms as well. Thank you.
Amazing. And so Ashley.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley, also the face behind Spectacular Days, and I have been using Boom Learning for several years. I have been in special education for 11 years. I have taught in the self-contained classroom. I was also in a resource setting, which is basically an inclusive setting, but this year I'm transitioning to becoming an ECSE teacher, early childhood special education. So I'm excited to bring Boom Learning into the preschool environment with students and seeing how much they enjoyed as well as my other students.
That's amazing. Thank you, Ashley. So we have people putting in the chat where they're from. I saw Hawaii, I saw India, I saw Puerto Rico. Hello, I'm from Puerto Rico. So that's amazing. Welcome all. So now let's go and start this panel. And so I want to first start with Ashley. So I want to ask, what's your favorite subject to teach with boom cards?
My favorite is math, only because you can differentiate it so easily. And being in the resource classroom, it was one of my favorite ways to almost make like an independent workstation just to kind of see where the kids were. And I loved the fact that for some of my students that struggled with reading, I could add audio to it to really increase their engagement. So math was one of my favorite subjects to do boom learning with.
Oh, that's so exciting. So Heather, you want to share your favorite subject to teach?
Yeah, I would agree. I think math has been the easiest for me to differentiate. And I do love the audio feature on there too. Drag and drop if you're trying to do counting and moving manipulatives and things like that. So I really do also enjoy math.
Amazing. And Chandra?
I like math too, but I also like doing ELA because of the audio features. So for like my emerging readers, I can put the audio on so they can use the audio. And then for my more independent readers, they can just read the passage or and then like when we're doing sentences and stuff, I can differentiate for the kids who are like this learning the vocabulary, the kids who are building sentences, and the kids who are like writing a paragraph kind of thing. So I think boom cards like just amazing. So, you know, I can brag on about it for any subject area, I think.
Whoa, and that's so cool. I love it. I also use boom cards with my ESL students, and it is amazing. Like you guys mentioned the audio feature, and yeah, they love it. So Heather, is it too difficult for your students to use the cards?
No, definitely not. Once you have that learning curve of what to do or how to do it, like my students are able to totally access it by themselves. There's either a touchscreen option if you're on like a Chromebook or an iPad. So I have some of my students that were touching the screen, but then I also would have them either use a mouse to navigate if that's well too. It just kind of depended on the student and how that worked for them. But like I said, it was just teaching them how to use it. The login process was a little bit lengthy, but other than that, once they were in, they were able to pick and choose the decks that were assigned to them. And it made it really easy for them to navigate. And I typically had more of a mild to moderate or mod severe type of classroom. So their fine motor skills might be more delayed, but I never noticed any issues at all.
And that's good. And now that you mentioned the login, like process, that's why also Boom added the QR code method for logging in, so that way it will be easier if you're using like a device that have a camera, so you can just scan that and they will be already ready to play the Boom cards. So thank you for sharing that. So I want to know from you all, what are your students' favorite features or type of boom cards? Because we know we have so many, like escape room, we have flashlights. For features, we have fill in the blank, drag and drop. So can you tell us what's the favorite feature? Let's start with Ashley.
So I love the fact that you could pretty much do anything with boom cards. And I had students that would request certain ones. I'd be like, okay, we're working on counting in math. What do you want to see? And I'll show one of the ones. My students, when we did 2D shapes, I made like their own 2D shape ones, things we were working on. If we were working on using the calculator for dollar more, we would I would like make something that was exciting for them. Students that were really interested, whatever their theme was, like Super Mario, all the things, you can really tailor it to your student and what they're learning, what their like excitement is. And that way it excites them to even learn more.
Oh, that's so cool. Now that you mentioned Mario, I remember I created one, like a game for them for the free time. And I even downloaded like some of the audio, like ding, 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 or something like that. I think that's baseball, but yeah, something like that. So yeah, they love that. And so yeah, who else wants to share? I don't know, Chandra?
Yeah, so I think my kids like the fact that you could put images in there, but you could also put like the GIF animations in there. And I think that just made it a little bit more exciting for the kids. So, and the fact that it's boom cards and it's on an iPad, it's not a worksheet, is already like a game changer for them because they don't think they're working kind of thing. But so they get to use technology and a thing that's already like, yeah, I got to use the iPad kind of thing. And I like putting like the animations in there. It just like gives it a little bit more sparkle or some, you know, bedazzle your work a bit, I guess.
Yeah, I love that. And we also have many teachers that like mix boom cards with manipulatives and even like worksheets. So yeah, now that you mentioned that, I love that. And so Heather.
Yeah, so my students actually, we love the drag and drop feature. I was going to show you here. So the drag and drop, they can click and move and it'll tell them if they're correct or incorrect, depending on what it is. But also beyond that, my students love the ding and the whoop, whoop. So like some of them, I had to kind of break that habit of constantly having that whoop where they would get it wrong because they did enjoy that. And I do love that we can turn off that audio too, so that it doesn't have to be available on every card that we do. So it was really kind of fun to have that drag and drop feature. And then of course the sounds really just get the kids involved.
Yeah, and that's one way to differentiate like the learning process, like turning off and on that audio. And it is also like a positive reinforcement for them to hear that ding.
Yeah.
Like I use boom cards with my nephew, and every time he put like an answer, he'd be like, shh, 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 so we could hear the ding. So yeah.
Somebody just asked, how do you turn off the whoop sound? So you see, oh, it's on the side, this top button here, like if there's a sound on it, well, you have this one if like somebody's recorded something, but then there's the one all the way in that corner. That's how you turn off the sound, so that you can be just the yes, no, or the correct, incorrect, or it can just be the audio. So you can do it there too.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for showing that and responding to the question. So now let's talk about IEP because we know special education. So Ashley, can you tell us how do boom cards help you meet IEP goals, and what data have you found useful when looking at the boom reports?
So boom cards was a game changer. I was a distance learning teacher 2 years ago, and I had students that were on the aligned standards of learning track. So they took an alternate assessment instead of like the typical standards. And so I basically created their curriculum for them. And I had to figure out ways to take data on their IEP goals. And this was literally, it gave me life for it. So I would create boom cards that tailored to their IEP goals and assign it to them, and then use the reports as my data for a collection, because we weren't ever face-to-face. My students were distance learning for the entire school year. And some of their goals were, it wasn't just like you could print off like an addition sheet and hand it to them. Like they had some intricate goals that were a little bit trickier. So being able to create my own boom cards, tailor it to them with whatever they were loving. Like we would do dinosaurs, and we would do like one of my girls loved butterflies. So anything that I could get to excite them, that, like you said, tricked them to think they weren't like learning or doing, it was just fun for them. Like, okay, share your screen with me. Okay, you're going to do this boom card deck. Okay, great. Like it was, you know, and I could tailor it if their ability to sit and like attend a task was like 5 cards, or if I had students that could attend a task for longer, I could do like 15 cards. So that was really nice that I could differentiate it per student and get that little bit of one-on-one time. So game changer for me when it comes to data collection, because you see what the kid actually knows. You're not almost like discreetly probing, even though I feel like it's like just a natural thing that we do as humans. So game changer for me.
Love that. And I love that you mentioned that you create that tailored for the specific students. And so that's one way also to differentiate, because you can find boom cards in the store that can meet your IP goals, but if you cannot find like anything that you like, or like Ashley mentioned, your student wants dinosaurs, so you can create that boom cards that goes along with that goal. So thank you, Ashley. So Chandra, do you want to share?
Okay, so sorry, I'm trying to do like, okay. So this is like an IEP goal I had for one of my kids. She had answering WH question goals. And so this is the data that I look at, because like Bloom cards allows you to look at all their responses. And I'm going to just go this way so you guys can see. You can see all the responses, and you can see what they picked. You can see the right answer. You can see the wrong answer, but you can also see how long they took to answer the questions. So you can see whether they guessed it, because, you know, even I don't take 2 seconds to read a, you know, a sentence kind of thing. And the ones they really took their time to read. So I found that really super helpful. And then like based on this data, I can look at, okay, so she's getting all the why questions wrong. So let me just focus on the why questions the next time I see her. Oh, you know, she's definitely got all the what questions, so I can hide those cards, and because she's already mastered that goal of answering what questions, and just focus on the why and the who's, that kind of stuff. So that's how I kind of use the data that Boom card gave me. And but like Ashley too, I can also differentiate it by hiding cards. So like I had one student who had identifying numbers from 0 to 30, so I could focus on like identifying numbers 0 to 10 first, and then once you got that, I'll go, okay, now let's do 0 to 20, and then we'll do 0 to 30. So you can also differentiate it that way, which is really awesome, because you can buy like a boom deck that says like identifying cards 0 to 50, but hide all the larger numbers till you master the smaller numbers. And that's kind of how, like when I'm creating my boom cards, I always have that in mind, that teachers can build on from what they've learned. So it's not, so they can differentiate the differentiate for their students. And that's how I kind of use it for IEP goals. I think it's amazing. Like Ashley too, I was doing distance learning for a whole school year, and I had kids in Florida. It's called Access Points. So, and I could finally work on their individual like learning goals and make stuff just for them, which is like, was amazing. So that's how I use it in my classroom and with IEP goals.
Perfect. Thank you. And also thank you for that video for demonstration. I loved it. And so now Heather.
Yeah, I would say the exact same thing. Like you can differentiate the cards, you can hide them, which helps with that differentiation. Similarly, if you have like, I just have a couple pictures here, you know, of seeing, like you said, the bottom is where you're going to see how long they took on it, the response time. Then you have the green and the red to say like how many correct, how many incorrect. And then that top, I was just reminding myself, the percent accuracy. So like that's super easy if you're trying to look for data points and tracking. Here's another one. You know, you can see how long they took it. Sometimes it's longer than others. And it's just really great information to help make a better decision when I know, okay, see like this one at the end, the person like was really got a lot of them wrong at the end. Maybe this is too many questions for them and they're fatigued. So that's good for me to keep track of and kind of have an understanding that maybe that's just too much for that student. and that I need to limit the questions. So that just kind of helps give me a more comprehensive idea. And typically I use boom cards for independent work. So the student is working on it either by themselves or with a paraprofessional close by. So that really just kind of does help me. And again, like bottom here, student might be fatiguing, might be just bored, tired, whatever it is. Or I really can look at those cards like Chandra's video. You can see exactly how many times they've answered it, how many correct, how many incorrect, that kind of thing. So it's really helps me make more data-driven decisions.
Yeah, I love that. And in the picture that you show, you can see also like a pre and post, like a before and after, how they were when you started assigning that boom card, and then once they practice, how they progress with the practice. So thank you for that. So now, Ashley, do you prefer using boom cards for group work or independent work?
So I've used it in both settings. I had students, like I said, that were on aligned standards of learning, and I used a lot of boom cards to supplement science activities and things, like when we would do like a following directions for cooking. That was really fun. They could take turns to go up and answer the questions. But typically when I was in the general education classroom, being the supporting teacher, I used them individually. So I would have a student work on a subject area after I reinforced it to see what they could do independently without me sitting right there. But when I move into preschool this year, I'll probably be using it in a group setting, probably between 1 to 3 students is my goal as of right now. So honestly, it's wonderful. You can use it in both settings. It just depends. Like if you have a smart board, you can go up and put it on the smart board. The kids think it's really fun. My general ed teachers that I worked with loved boom cards as well. And they would bring them up like on the board, and they would do like 2 or 3 to show them how the boom card worked. And then they'd say, okay, now you can go into your own boom card, just to give students additional options too. So
yeah, we see that a lot. They like do like a practice section in the whiteboard or the smart board, and then they can go to work independently with their iPads or tablets, computers, what they have. So let me see, how do boom cards help students to work independently, actually, like you were mentioning?
I think it engages the students more. Technology is a huge part of learning nowadays, and students have really become accustomed to that. I think that some students prefer that over worksheets, and especially students that have some fine motor trouble. I did have some students that writing was challenging, so they loved boom cards because they could still complete a lot of the work that their peers were doing. It was just more in a electronic format. And the nice thing is, if they didn't want to do it on boom cards, like on the actual computer, I would print them off and have them sit next to me and do them in a paper-based format. So the fact that it's so you can use it in multiple different ways is amazing. So that's one of just an added perk to boom.
Thank you. And Chandra, do you want to share your story?
I use it in all 3 settings. Like I use it for independent work, like in centers. I've also used it in small group. I also do a whole group too. So I'll project it up on the whiteboard, and then the kids take turns to come and answer the question. And if they can't answer the question, they can like ask a friend or something like that. So that way they're all learning from one another. So I kind of used it in all 3 settings, and it builds their independence because of the self-checking feature as well. So I've put them in, if they're working in a center, then they've got that self-checking feature to know if they got it right or wrong, kind of thing. And so that's why I kind of use it all 3. It's very versatile, like Ashley was saying. And in distance learning too, it's amazing. I could do it with them one-to-one, or I could assign it to them as like homework to do when I'm not with them face-to-face, through Zoom.
Yeah, exactly. You can use them like many ways. And Heather.
Yeah, so I use it all different ways as well. I usually start the beginning of my week as a whole group. where I will display it on a interactive whiteboard or a smart board. And I do a lot of my teaching that way, where I can show them this is what it's going to look like. And this is how we would answer this type of question. Like if we're matching shapes or trying to match words to pictures, things like that. So I'll go through all of that with them at the beginning of the week. And then we did Boom Card Fridays. So that Fridays during math, we would bring out the iPads, and it was kind of like their end of the week reward for learning this new unit or lesson. So that was more of an independent time. And then my staff and I got to walk around and see where they were at confidence wise, independence. And like, then I had the data afterwards to truly see it. But my students really love the independent part because of the ding. So that they would get so excited when they would get it correct. Even if it took them wrong, correct, like they realize, oh, those first two were wrong. Even if they're just clicking, like they're learning, and that repetition and that practice truly did help them to get away from that, just click it. Because that was my biggest concern, is that they would just try to click all the answers and figure out which one it was. But as they got more comfortable and as they got more confident in their own skills, I saw less of that. So if any teacher is really concerned about, well, they're just going to try to click every answer to get it right, it does fade with time, because they really just enjoy the platform and enjoy the Boom cards.
Oh, that's so great. And now that you mentioned like the whoops and ding sound, I think that something that Mary and Ari had in mind when they were creating this is that the whoop sound, like when they got the answer like incorrect, it's not like frustrating sound. It's not like, whoa, no, it's just like, whoops, that's not it. Like keep looking for the correct answer. So yeah, we love that. And we've noticed, and many teachers send us videos every day of students enjoying that, like the whoops and the ding sound. So yeah, and so how much help do your students require to complete a deck? Anyone can answer.
Not much, honestly. Like once I taught them how to use it, the navigation was fairly easy and simple. It's very student friendly. Like I said, when you assign all the decks, it's just a running list of whatever's assigned to them. And I give them that choice that they get to pick which one they want to do, because it's the same unit or the same piece of information. Or I might say, start with the top one and then work your way down if somebody needed a little bit more structure. But it was very easy for them to navigate. They would go through, they get to see how far they have until the end, which I also really like, because sometimes my students are anticipating like the end of the deck. So they'll say, oh, I have 2 more left. And I was like, okay, let's do that. And then sometimes it was even a reward at the end where they got to play a game, one of the fun Boom cards that maybe wasn't related to what we were doing. But it was super easy for them to find that and navigate that themselves.
Thank you. And Ashley, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I agree with Heather. It was very easy to navigate. I had a student that had trouble typing, but we used the QR feature, which was amazing to give that student the independence. A lot of times I made their like username and password the same for the computer. So it was just additional repetition to learn their like lunch number ID or password and that kind of thing. So I also love the feature that we can change their username and password. Like we can change all of that, because for me, if I had a student, Johnny is a very typical name, but if there was Johnny, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I was like, nope, we're just going to change it to like maybe just 3 letters and 3 numbers or something that made sense to the student. That was always a game changer because it gave them the sense of independence. But honestly, students pick up technology so fast. It's amazing to see. So I never really had students with much of a challenge. Like my 4-year-old can work my cell phone, which is terrifying. So Boom is much easier than my cell phone.
Thank you for sharing that. And so sometimes we gotta do scaffolding, and so I wanted to ask Chandra, how do you apply scaffolding with Boom cards?
Okay, so I'm going to put like a video in the background to see some of the Boom cards that I created and used with my classroom. So like, for example, do you guys see it? Yeah, okay. So for example, like with this one, I had 3 levels of group levels, I guess, for my kids on building sentences. And so this was like the kids who just had to match the vocabulary words, just to match the soda to soda. And then this one is they fill in the blank, so just had to put the last word in, which is kind of matching, but and then this one they actually had to build a sentence. So that's how I created this activity for my 3 levels of kids. And I also put like the symbol supports in there for my kids so that they can still look at the text is supported with the symbols as well. But that's one way I've done it with in ELA, in language arts, is I kind of work it out this way. So some of them are just matching, some of them are filling the blanks, and some of them are actually building the entire sentence kind of thing. And then I do something like with math, with addition, like the kids can either like click the answer, like I'll have 3 options and they click the answer, or they can actually like drag and drop the objects to represent the addition equation. Or they can just answer the question kind of thing. So I like the fact that I can scaffold it this way, but I can also scaffold it like in the sense that I can, they can either type the answer in, or they can click the answer, or they can drag and drop. So they can also show it to me in different ways. So there's so many different ways you can scaffold and differentiate your students, which is very, very exciting. And I really like that for my kids.
Thank you for sharing that, Chandra. So now let's move over to talk about augmentative and alternative communication. So Heather, I want to know, how do you use your AAC device while working with boom cards?
Yeah, so I don't have a picture for this one, just because it's a student's device and confidentiality of it. But some of my students were non-vocal, so they did have an iPad for their own communication system, and then they would work alongside with their either Chromebook or another iPad with boom cards on it. And it was a lot of modeling and reinforcement of, you're looking at this. So if I see them working on the boom cards, they're really focused on that. But I might put on their device 1 + 1 = 2, so that they kind of see that progression as well, that's communication, and that's what they're looking at. Some of my students also were non-readers, so that kind of helped with reading and identifying as well. So like, I know I've shown this one before, but like if I put on here 1 + 5, maybe the student could answer on their device instead of on the Chromebook or the iPad or whatever it was. And somebody else could input if they had some poor fine motor skills. It really just kind of helped reinforce the skill and reinforce what they were working on. And it kind of brought it all together for them with that communication and that academic, and then through this platform as well. So if you think your students can't do it, they truly can.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Perfect. Thank you for sharing that, Heather. And like we mentioned before, you can add audio to the boom cards. And so I want to ask, have you used boom cards with audio, and how was the experience? So let's start with Ashley.
Yes, I love using them with audio, especially I do a lot of creating myself, but just for that reason, because I want my students, when they are completing problems, that they feel confident. I have students that struggle with reading a lot, but math is a skill, a skill, a strength for them. So I try to have audio when we do word problems, when we're doing like multi-step problems, always have the directions in audio for them, because for them, if they're struggling to read, then their confidence typically goes lower and they don't want to try as hard. But I also love the audio for like following directions. I have students that have like 2-step following direction IEP goals. So I would use a lot of Heather's decks or other ones that was like, move the pumpkin over the tree, put the leaf on the house. So it's nice because you can tailor it to as much or as little as you want. I haven't dabbled yet into like the reading sight words type of things yet, but I'm hoping this year that I'll get to try that.
Perfect. Thank you, Ashley. So Chandra, do you want to share?
So I use a lot of audio in my ELA decks. So I always add audio to a lot of my comprehension passages or my sentence comprehension passages, so they can listen to the sentence, and then there's audio for the question, and then there's audio for the answer options as well. And that way I can assign it to them like at a center, because there's the audio part of it. So the kids who are still learning to read can actually, they don't need someone sitting next to them to read them the question, read them the sentence and asking them the question. They can just do it by listening to the audio. I also use it in math, but it depends what the skill is for that task. So if it's like identifying numbers, then I definitely put audios in. But if it's just a number equation like 3 + 2, then I don't usually put the audio in it. But it really, really depends on the skill I'm trying to get the deck to be assessing or getting them to learn. But I love the audio because it definitely builds their independence, and it helps them read new words or learn new words. And I've also got feedback from other teachers that say, thank you so much for adding the audio kind of thing. So definitely a huge, huge plus to have that audio option. And it's like, it's not automatically played. So it doesn't automatically read the thing to you. So I like that we have that option of not having that audio played for the kids who are trying to build their reading skills or number skills, whatever. But if you need it, it's there for them and the teachers as well.
Thank you, Chandra, for sharing that. And that's another thing, you can like edit your decks. You can, like, the default setting is for not to autoplay, but you can also select to autoplay. So that's all the features we have in Boom. So Heather, do you want to share how you use audio with your Boom cards?
Yeah, so I know we had talked a lot about using it to read directions, and I totally do that. Most of my decks, if not all of them, are on that auto read feature, so that the students that are non-readers are able to see that. But for this one, this audio right here would just all the way over there, would just say find 5. So that's helping the student be able to identify the 5. But you can also add audio to the boxes below too, which is kind of nice, so that you can do those numbers. But like for this one, if you are trying to get the student to read the word, it might just say 1. And so then they can match the word to the number that's there. And it really just helps clarify what's going on and what they need to be doing. And then it does reinforce, like I said, with that AAC, and then they auditorily can hear it. And that the next time when we're using their device and they see 1, they're like, wait, I saw that word when we were working on it last week.
Perfect. Yeah, and I believe David Sindre mentioned this in the Creating Masterclass last Tuesday. But you can even change, like add an audio and change the background image. And that image can be like an audio without like that thing. I don't know if I explain myself, but yeah.
There's one other thing I thought of that I actually did with a student who had a goal for letter identification. So I had recorded her saying the letters and then made a Boom card deck with her voice in it. So that really did help her. I didn't publish that one, but that was something personal for her, that she could reinforce some of those languages that she had in a Boom card deck and hear herself saying the letters to that.
Perfect. Love that, Heather. And so now, Ashley, I want to ask you, how do Boom cards help you with evaluation?
So for my personal evaluation, the nice thing is a lot of times I have to write a goal for myself on like where my students' growth is. A lot of times I use a Boom card, the student will be able to increase their, their sight word knowledge, let's say by X, Y, Z. And then I use the reports to show that they increased their goal by the X percentage. And I give that to my administrators. And that's what part of my evaluation. So that's kind of nice. For my students, I evaluate them by looking at the reports. So I look at the reports and say, like Heather said, it looks like at these last 10, they really struggled, or they're just like clicking really fast. So let's try only 10 versus 20, see if their percentage increases, see if their time in the Boom cards increases well. It's great too to bring to IEP meetings, because I'll bring data to show the parents like, look, we do these Boom cards in the beginning of the day, their focus is there, their attention span is there, but like in the afternoons, X, Y, or Z, or like, look at this IEP goal, and you can print right off and show the parents exactly like it's the why questions, like Chandra said, it's the why questions that are still a little difficult for the student. So I'm going to hide all these what questions and give only whys to kind of strengthen that deficit. So it's a great opportunity to use for a multitude of ways for evaluations.
Yeah, and I believe we have a parent here. So I also wanted to mention that from the students' account, you can also see the reports. So you can see that like progress from your child's account. So I have one more question before moving on to the live Q&A. So Chandra, how do you create materials meant for special education students differently than general education materials?
All right, so one thing I found that like with a lot of my kids, they have poor fine motor skills. And so like when we were doing the graphing unit, when we're doing like even pictographs, they found it difficult to like color in the squares to show like, 3 squares, it's, 3 red squares, like because of the fine motor skills. So they either go like over the box or they go like less in the box. And so when they're counting the squares, they couldn't really give me an accurate data on what they colored or how many reds are there, how many blues are there because of the fine motor skills. And so I kind of like made this one where they just had to click the answer. So I already drew the pictures for them. So it's like the 4 ladybugs. So they just had to click the 4 ladybugs instead of trying to draw it into the bar graph for me. And so like that was really useful because I got a lot more accurate data from them because I'm not going to penalize them for having poor fine motor skills kind of thing. And so that kind of helped with that one. And the same like with when you're doing division and they have to do like equal groups like this, their group, they try to draw their circles to put the equal number of, if it's like 16 divided by 4 and trying to get them to put 4 in each group, that sometimes they overlap the circles or they put those circles are too big, too small kind of thing. And so with boom cards, you can draw the circles in for them and they just have to like drag and drop the, the cupcakes or the pizza pieces, whatever. And so that really helped my kids that way. And then I had another one to share too, which is the same with fractions. Fractions was huge because with fractions, they have to have that equal parts, especially when we're like comparing fractions and they could never get the equal parts. And so like with this one, it's drawn for them and they just have to pick which one shows 3/4. So it definitely helped a lot with my kids that way. And then I guess in a general education setting, they won't need this much support with them. So they can wouldn't put this much scaffolding and differentiating with the deck. So like with the writing sentences one, like the general education classroom, they just have like a picture and they had to write 5 sentences. I know it was a would you rather kind of thing, like would you rather be Spider-Man or Superman? And then I just had like sentence starters and then they had to finish the sentence. So they didn't have like the audio, they don't have the symbol supports. So it's less supports, I guess, is what with the general education students. But my passion's always with like the kids who are self-contained, who needs this extra supports. And that's why I feel like Boom Cards allows me to create these kind of scaffolding for those kids. And so it's really great. I like it.
Thank you, Chandra, for sharing that. So now we'll have a couple of minutes to go over live Q&A. So reminder, if you have any questions, please put those in the Q&A box. So right now we have one from Patricia asking, so you can hide cards from Boom Cards you purchase or only for those you create? So anyone can answer.
I've created my own Boom Cards, but I also purchased Boom Cards and I have hidden Boom Cards that I've purchased. So yes, you can definitely hide Boom Cards, because like what Heather and Ashley saying, I've noticed sometimes they do get fatigued and there's some Boom Cards that come with like 50 Boom Cards in there. And so I have hidden cards. So they only see 20 cards and it's still, I believe it's still randomized for them if the author made it randomized. So they get a different, like they can't memorize the answers kind of thing, like because it's going to be different each time. So yes, you can definitely still hide cards, and that's how I differentiate my lessons, or activities, I should say.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, let's see. We have some questions here. Let me see. I see our boom course available in French. Yes, we have so many French teachers that create their boom cards. We have Spanish, we have Italian, any language that you think of. We even have ASL, and we'll be having like a panel about language later on today. So make sure to sign up for that one. Let me see. Oh, they're just, our boom agents are answering the question, so I'm just seeing here.
Somebody had asked about printing. Can I share my screen and show them how to print it?
Yeah, sure.
Is that okay? Because I
Perfect.
think that's a super important feature that maybe people don't know. I can't share my screen. Hold on, never mind. But you can print boom cards. I literally print out a set this morning that you could do. And I print it when you go to your library and you click on the deck you want. There's a little drop down menu. Oh, maybe I can do it now.
Yeah, I just said yes.
Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna share. So this is actually what it would look like in the, what was that? All right, so then I would go to my library, which I can't see right now. Hold on. Oh, where is it? Let me see if I can go back. The panel at the top here is not letting me.
Oh yeah, that is why, because we can see your library
Okay.
tab, but maybe
Yeah, I was like, the panel at the top, how do I move it to the bottom? Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. I go to my library. I click on whatever deck I want. So let's see, I'll show you the one that I did before. So then your little actions to the drop-down menu will be print. And then it'll show it. You can print 1 card per row, which will come out like this, where there's 2 cards on the set. This is perfect for a photo keeper if you are using those. So like a task card size. You can make them even smaller if you want it to be like a quick flip book, where they can maybe write, circle the answers or trace it or things like that. Or you can even make it like super small. And it just kind of depends on the student and whatever's best for you. So I think this would actually print on 1 page, or maybe just 1.5 or so. So yeah, that's how I would print those out, and I just hit print deck and send it to a printer.
Perfect. Thank you for answering that, Heather. We actually created a Tip Tuesday, I think like 4 cards. So we have Stephanie asking, can you assess handwriting using a stylus in a card? I'm not sure what that means. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think you could. It would be very different than a pencil or a utensil. But yes, you could probably definitely do it. Just know it's going to be on a digital platform. So if you have a iPad that you can write on with a stylus, like, yeah, students can write in their answers and do that.
Perfect. And I also saw a question. Well, we just received one. Is there an easy way to organize tons of boom cards?
Yes, you can. Like I kind of do it in 2 ways. So I have made a lot of folders. So I broke it down into like the skills of like addition, subtraction, fractions, measurement, that kind of thing. And I also have folders for each of my kids so that I can put those boom cards that they're working on, especially because they have IEP goals as well. So I do have my skills, subject area skills folders, and then each of my students also have their individual folder. And so any boom decks that focus on their IEP goals goes into their folders. So when I'm working with them, instead of searching through my library, trying to find that addition boom deck, I just go straight to their name, and all their boom decks that they're working on are right there for me to kind of work with them or assign to them.
Perfect.
Yeah, so my background right now, you can see that there's folders that you can just add folder. This is in your library. So I do it by subject area or content area. So like calendar or categories or Christmas or colors. So that's all in there. And that's how I organize my deck as well.
Yeah, and I believe Michelle asked if we could see like making the folder, but yeah, you just show like the photo, the picture, so you can see that you can go to the library and just where Heather is pointing at, you can create the folder from there and just drag and drop the decks into that folder. So thank you, Heather. And I just have one more question. I saw Regina asking if the students are using boom cards independently, small groups and center, is data still being taken? That's a good question.
I think it depends on how you're doing. If you're in a group format and it's a hyperlink, like a fast play, it's not going to take data. Because if you're doing it like up on the front board, but if you are in an individual student's profile, then yes, it will take data on just that student's profile. So if there's 3 kids working on one student's profile, it's going to be a group first, just the one child, if that makes sense. A lot of times I give hyperlinks, especially when I was assigning things in Google Classroom or Schoology and things like that. Because it didn't always require them to sign in, but I wasn't looking for the data for those kinds of decks. It was just almost like a practice round, if that makes sense. If they need an example, I can try to show one, but it's hard when you're like what versus a fast play,
yeah,
those kinds of things.
Yeah, if you want to recollect data, you will need to do like a hyperplay link, and they will need to have the student account. So we have a lot of FAQs, and we have a lot of, let me share my screen. Yeah, we have a lot of, like I mentioned, FAQs, and we have a lot of videos and tutorials in our YouTube channel and all social media. So if you need any more help, you can email us at help@bloomlearning.com, and you can see all the information there. So thank you all for being here. I'm so happy we have Heather, Chandra, and Ashley presenting with us today. I know we received a lot of feedback saying that you guys were some of their favorite authors. So thank you all for being here. I don't know if you want to share some last thoughts, and we'll end up the session.
Yeah, if you have any questions about boom cards or how to set them up or how to assign them to your classroom or assign just one deck to one student or things like that that we didn't get into, feel free to reach out. I'm sure any of us could answer questions for you because we have a lot of experience with it.
Thank you, Heather.
Yes, I hope y'all learned something today. Printing boom cards has been, like a game changer for me. It's kind of nice to have the digital platform and the paper-based platform. And like Heather said, feel free to reach out to any of us on social media, and we'll be happy to guide you with the answer that we can.
Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah, likewise, I can help any of you guys, with anything like Ashley and Heather said. We are open books. We love boom cards. We'd advocate it, I think, for anyone. If you haven't tried it and you just came in to see what it's all about, try it. It was a game changer. I actually heard about it for a while. It's like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then I tried it one day and it's like, I've never turned back kind of thing. So, yes, please, reach out to any of us. I don't know, Yanishal, are you going to share our contact information with them? Like, how can they reach us?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to mention right now. In our follow-up email, you'll find all the links to their Instagrams, their boom stores, and I think even their email. So you can find those their information there in the follow-up email. And you'll also find the recording there and the link to request the certificate of attendance. So again, we're so excited to be having this. Thank you all, the panelists. Thank you all who attend this section. Please join us for our next section. We will be having the SOP or the speech and language panel. So I'll see you all there, and thank you for joining. Happy booming.